a motor vehicle, to which I am not operating a motor vehicle. And this is what we're trying to
I guess
circumvent.
Yeah,
I am operating my
it's not
automobile, not a motor vehicle.
I will ask you this: how is your right to travel removed by receiving the citation?
By trying to require me to have a license to operate a automobile, which is my private
Today's court hearing is shaping up to be an interesting one. The defendant, who identifies as a sovereign citizen, insists they don't need auto insurance because they were traveling rather than driving. With this individual, the attorney and magistrate take their time, but the discussion quickly becomes heated. In my opinion, the magistrate may have been a bit too lenient. Perhaps a firmer approach could have resolved the issue more quickly. What do you think? Did the magistrate handle the situation appropriately, or was he too forgiving? Shed your thoughts, and let's see how this case unfolds.
With the letter B, that same date, time, and place, you were issued a citation for having an expired registration plate. That is also a civil infraction. It is also a 0-point civil infraction. If you were found responsible, all other things being equal, the court would assess $110 fines, costs, and fees. So, first question, is that the ticket or the two cases that you thought you were appearing about, Mr. Williams?
It is.
Okay, and same question to you, Officer Kellums?
Yes, sir.
Very good. In every civil case, the plaintiff has the burden of proof, and in a case like this, that burden of proof is called by a preponderance of evidence.
Only question I have is, will the laws of the U.S. Supreme Court be applicable? And the federal statutes and definitions of motor vehicle and automobile be applicable in this proceeding?
They are the state of Michigan laws that will be applicable.
Okay. The other question is, are you already not bound by U.S. Supreme Court rulings?
Every court is bound by relevant Supreme Court rulings.
Okay.
I'm not sure why you're asking that, but that's okay. All right, Officer Kellums, if you would begin, please.
So on November 19, 2024, I was on patrol for the Battle Creek Police Department. When I observed the vehicle that Mr. Roosevelt was driving, I observed that it had expired tags on the vehicle. I then conducted a traffic stop on Fountain Street near Meacham Ave. Found Mr. Williams to be driving the vehicle, where I issued him the citations. When speaking with Mr. Williams, he could not provide insurance, and his tags were expired.
All right. Did Mr. Williams say anything to you during the stop about having insurance or not having insurance, or anything about the tags on the plates, anything like that?
He informed me that he did not have to have insurance due that he was traveling, and to drive a vehicle, you don't have to have insurance. Something regarding the Supreme Court. That's about all he said.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to consider anything else at this point, Officer Kellum?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Williams, could you hear Officer Kellums' testimony?
Yes, I heard his testimony.
Very good. Thank you for your patience. What do I need to know, sir?
Okay, I did inform Officer Kelly that I am not operating a motor vehicle, but I am operating an automobile. I did inform Officer Kelly of the ruling of Rodriguez v. Ray Donovan, U.S. Department of Labor, 769 Federal 2nd, 1344, where the U.S. Supreme Court's decision has ruled that all codes, rules, and regulations are for government authorities only and not for human creators. In accordance with God laws, all codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional and lacking due process.
All right, can I interrupt you just for a second? Are you telling me that a case at 769 Fed 2nd, 1344 indicates that all laws are unconstitutional?
This sovereign citizen attempts to justify his lack of insurance by citing Rodriguez v. Ray Donovan, but the case isn't relevant here. It didn't change Michigan law and dealt with a specific situation in another state. Simply claiming to be traveling doesn't exempt someone from legal requirements in Michigan. The magistrate clearly understands the law better, but it's unclear why he referenced this case. Perhaps he believed it would strengthen his argument. The outcome seems fairly obvious, but their logic can sometimes be difficult to follow. Why do you think the magistrate considered this case relevant?
No, I'm telling you that you have misinterpreted the application of 18 U.S.C. 31A6 and 769 F second or Fed second 1344.
Okay,
But-
well, I see what
I've heard your argument.
So, there will be no further arguments because I see that you're not going to agree to. Because, like I said, when I've given it to you, the cases where they've, like Shapiro v. Thompson, where the U.S. Supreme Court has said that this driver license is not a requirement, that this is, you're trying to convert a right into a privilege, to which is covered by Article 1, Section 8.
Well,
to which,
I'll ask you this. Is that right, the right to travel?
that is a right to travel, convey, however you want it, by the U.S. Constitution.
What you just told me was that somehow but regardless, am trying to convert a right into a privilege. Now, the question I have for you is, what right has been converted to a privilege?
My right to freely travel
Very
unencumbered
good.
and
Now,
unfettered.
I will ask you this. How is your right to travel removed by receiving the citation?
By trying to require me to have a license to operate a automobile, which is my private vehicle.
Okay. All right. Is there
That
anything
is
else you
my
want me to consider?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I can tell you this. The Michigan motor vehicle laws, including the laws that require you to carry insurance, that require your vehicle to be registered, and require that registration to be current, do not run in violation of any right to travel under the Constitution or the United States Supreme Court decision that you have cited. In fact, Michigan courts have held that essentially the right to travel means the right for you to move from A to B, not the right for you to travel from A to B under your most convenient way. So you could walk from point A to B all you wanted. You could take a taxi or an Uber or a plane or a train or a bus. But if you wish to travel by using a motor vehicle, the Michigan laws are applicable and don't unconstitutionally interfere with the right to travel. It doesn't convert the right to travel into a privilege. You are not denied the right to travel. You may be denied the privilege of traveling via an...
The magistrate seems to be facing a test from this individual who is even trying to put words in his mouth. But when the magistrate holds the power to determine your fate, that's not exactly a wise strategy. Arguing with the person who decides whether you'll face fines or additional penalties is rarely a good move. It's unclear whether this sovereign citizen is trying to outsmart the magistrate or is simply misinformed, as many in this movement tend to be. Either way, it's intriguing to watch unfold. Let's see what he brings up next, as he's already introducing more questionable arguments.
So
That is what the law says, and that's what I'm finding. Is there anything else you want me to consider about that finding?
Shuttleworth v. Birmingham, U.S. 147. Do you mind telling me what the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in that?
U.S. 147 doesn't give me the site of a case. That's an incomplete site of a case. Okay?
It was Shuttle.
And if you wish me to consider the case, why don't you tell me what was at issue in the case and what year it was decided?
I said Shuttleworth v. Birmingham, U.S. 147, 1969, where it says
U.S. 147 is not a complete cite. The way you cite to a case is by name, and then volume number, and then the name of the publication, and then the page number. So, for instance, when you said 769 Fed 2nd 1344, what that means is volume 769 of a book or volumes called the Federal Reporter, 2nd edition, at page 1344. So when you're asking me about this most recent case that you talked about, what you said was US 147, I think. That's not the citation to a case. So you're going to have to tell me more about that case. Who were the parties to that case, and what issue was before the Supreme Court in that case?
Okay, so you didn't hear me cite the name of Shuttleworth v. Birmingham?
I heard you say the name, That
Okay,
doesn't tell me what. That's not a complete cite of the case.
All right. Do you not have the documents that I filed when I filed to say that I want to have an informal hearing? The affidavit that writes that my
There are documents that have been scanned into the court that you dropped off.
okay.
So
So
from
even
those documents, why don't you tell me the proper citation for Shuttle versus Birmingham?
okay, traffic infractions are not crimes. Blah blah blah. Person faced with okay.
Traffic infractions are not crimes. That's absolutely correct. They are
Okay,
civil infractions.
I was reading from a different case, but the case that I'm citing from states that no license necessary to drive an automobile on public highways, streets. No license is necessary. The word operator should not include any person who solely transport his own property and who transport no persons or property for hire.
Where's that citation from?
Okay, I just appeal it, and that way I can make sure all citations are on.
It's fine. I mean, the idea is I can't look up what you're telling me, right? Without a proper citation. So you can read, I mean, for all I know, and I don't mean this, I'm using a farcical example. For all I know, you're quoting the municipal court in Honolulu, Hawaii, which has no jurisdiction over.
This court hearing needs to wrap up. It's starting to feel like someone trying to give a book report without actually reading the book. The sovereign citizen is struggling to accurately quote the cases he's written down, making his argument even weaker. And honestly, it's okay. This sovereign citizen was different from the rest. He stayed composed and even wished the magistrate a good day, which is rare for people in this movement. It seems he was merely testing the sovereign citizen argument, but backed off once he realized it wasn't working. As for the $235 in fines for driving without insurance and expired tags, they are completely justified. These penalties exist to promote road safety and ensure accountability, because breaking the rules has consequences. What do you think? Should the magistrate have been more forceful, or did he handle it appropriately? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching.